Hello, hello, it's Tracy here with another scrapbooking process video. This time I'm using my Skinny Love kit from the Scraptastic Kit Club, and I'm going to be scrapbooking this photo from Thanksgiving. And we were all setting up for a family photo, and my husband came in and photobombed us. So that'll teach us for doing a family photo without him, I guess. So I'm just having a look at the papers that are left. I've already used this kit for a couple of layouts. I think I've used it for 3 or 4 layouts. So it's all of my favorite papers are really cut up, and so I'm just going to go with some of the chunks that are left already. Actually, there's still quite a lot left now that I look at it. I'm going to get a chance to use this star paper, which I really wanted to use on another layout, but it just didn't work. And I'm going to get to use this butterfly paper, which is the back side of that cloud paper. These are exclusive Scraptastic Kit Club papers. Everything that I used in this kit, except for the doily, came in the kit. So everything I used on the layout came in the kit. So I'm just cutting my papers so that they will, basically I just want little edges to show. So I'm cutting down the star paper a little bit. And I'm going to use a strip of this paper, also from the Scraptastic Kit Club. I think all of the papers on this layout are exclusive to the kit. Yes, it appears so. Could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure. So I just I cut that strip, and I can't remember if I'm going to leave it that long. Yeah, I think I already trimmed it down when I wasn't looking. So I'm going to use this template that came in the kit, but I don't want to just use the template. I think that I want to do some bubble wrap printing on this, and so this is large bubble wrap that I got it with something I ordered in the mail. And I've done this before with this exact same paint on probably several layouts. I love this yellow paint that I'm about to use. It's by Kaisercraft. I'm just looking for it right now. It's by Kaisercraft, and it's a really bright, vibrant yellow that I absolutely love. And not only do I love the color, but I also really love the consistency of this paint. It's a heavy body paint, and so it tends to keep its texture when you glob it on really thick. You can really tell. So I am just painting the bubble wrap with this paint, and I'm putting it on very unevenly. So there are parts that have lots of globs of paint, and then parts where the paint is quite thinly coated. And now I'm just going to use it as a little, like a stamp. And so you'll see that some of those bubbles are the texture of the paint. Actually, it almost like has a kissed effect where there's a bit of a mountain on where the paint was. It just gives a tiny bit of texture as well as the color. So I really love that paint for that reason. It came in an old Scarlet Lime Club kit from many, many, many years ago. Probably like 2009, 2010. And I've really loved it. I've used it a lot. And I almost always use it with this exact same application. So I have to spread it out enough that it doesn't look like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. But I think sometimes when you find something that you really like and that works, it's okay to use it over and over again. You don't have to feel like you're doing something new just to do something new. Like if you know that you like it and you know that it works, why not do it again? So I'm cracking out some old supplies here. These are my distress inks, which I haven't bought new distress inks in many, many years. So these are the original colors. This is Broken China, which was one of the first colors of distress ink that was ever released. It's a beautiful turquoisey bluey color. It's very pretty. And I'm just putting 3 of these stencils. And again, I did it purposely. I did some of the parts I pressed really hard with, and some of the parts I didn't, so that it would have a bit more of a mottled look. I wanted a little bit of stenciling at the top and the bottom, and I didn't want it to seem like it was floating, so I wanted to anchor it with just a tiny bit more of the yellow paint, which didn't really stamp off in the circular pattern like I was expecting or hoping that it would, but it's okay as long as there's some yellow there just to tie in the blue stencil when I put it there. And I love that stencil. It came in the kit. It was the free item that you receive when you get 2 kits in a row. So So yes, if this is your first month subscribing, that wouldn't be in your kit, but otherwise you should have received that stencil, which is very, very pretty. And I love the green and the yellow, the blue and the yellow together. So I'm going to outline my papers. The reason I'm outlining this time, I outline for a lot of reasons and I sometimes talk about them. So you'll have to check out a lot of my videos to find out all of the different reasons. But the reason I'm outlining today is that all of these papers are very similar in that they're all whitish and it's on a white background. So I want to make sure that I'm emphasizing my layers, and so the outlining helps with that. I'm just using a Pitt pen here. I'm running out of pens. I have to buy some new journaling pens. So I'm outlining every single piece. And that just gives some definition between my pattern papers. The butterflies and the stars are particularly similar to one another, and then with the background paper being such a plain background paper, I just want the layers to pop. So I'm using a Tombow adhesive here. It's just what I had at hand. And now I'm going to play around a little bit with the idea of where I'm going to put this, and then I'm going to decide to put it right there. Basically, when I'm assembling these papers, I want them to look casual, like I just kind of gathered them up and they fell like that. And yeah, I don't want them to be too lined up or even, and even compared to some of my other layouts, I want this one to look very casual and not even. So that was my doily drawer. Yes, I have a doily drawer. Every scrapbooker should have a doily drawer. It's not very full, as you could tell. I like to spread out my supplies, so I would rather have, 10 doilies in a drawer by themselves than have 10 doilies stuck amongst a whole bunch of other things, because then I'll have a hard time finding them. And so whenever possible, I like to spread out like that if I can. So I'm just, I cut off 2 little edges of the doilies and I'm sticking them in. Normally I would cut my doily in half, but with the layers being as small as they are, I only wanted it to show up on the left and the right. I didn't want any of the edges to show up on the top. So basically I want it to look like an oval doily. So that's why I didn't just stick it behind. Normally I would stick it behind, or I would just cut it in half if it wasn't quite big enough to stick out on either side. But just taking the edges works too. So now I'm going to build I'm thinking about putting these clouds here, and I'll tell you why I'm going to change my mind about it. See how it just kind of looks like a softened little blob over there in the right-hand top corner? It wasn't adding anything. In fact, it was actually taking away from the distinct layers that I had made there. So I decided to not use those clouds there. I love those clouds. I'm really struggling to use them, but I really do love them. So maybe they'll make it on my next layout. I'm hoping, because my next layout might be the last one I do with this kit. So I decided to stick that ombre tag in there. I love, love, love those tags from Pink Fresh Studio. They are fabric tags and they're dipped in ink and they're just gorgeous. So I had to get one more of those on a layout. And now I want to use this wood veneer that says Playdate, which has nothing to do with the photo. So I'm going to cover up Playdate, partially using that flare badge that comes in the kit that says Not Just a Pretty Face, and partially using these stickers by Authentique to put the date. So I put them in the wrong spot at first, so I just peeled it up in one piece so I wouldn't have to reposition each of those letter stickers and get them all bent and yucky looking. So that's how it's going to look in the end. And I can't remember what I'm doing here. Am I getting some thread? Nope, I'm not. I will do that in a minute, but first I'm going to look through the embellishments that come in this kit. I'm just going to grab the packaging. It is the Wonder Collection from Crepe Paper. There were also some papers from the Wonder Collection in this kit. And I really love that felt heart in the reddish color because it picks up on the red on the flare, but it was a little bit too vibrant, so I decided to layer it with that yellow one, but they're exactly the same size. I don't love layering two things that are identical sizes and shapes. So instead, I punched with the leftover of the doily. I just punched using my Stampin' Up! Heart punch, which is called Heart to Heart. It's actually discontinued, so I think it's a little difficult to find, but it has 3 unique hearts in it that look like they're hand drawn. So I really love that punch for that reason. I snatched it up when it was on their clearance rack a couple of years ago, and I love it. So this is not embroidery floss. This is upholstery thread, and I've talked about this before. I really like using upholstery thread because it's a heavier weight than regular thread. You can see it more, it shows up more, and it's just easier to work with. I had to lay my punch on the wood veneer just to keep it still while I tied it. I was just looking for something heavy, and the punch was there. And I just had to kind of fix up the little bow. I realized the other day that I don't tie nearly enough bows and put enough string on my layouts, so I'm challenging myself to use a little bit more of those sorts of things, like threads and flosses and that sort of thing. So then I just used a little Stampin' Up! Dimensional adhesive to stick the flare badge onto the wood veneer banner, and that was my old Tomboy. I accidentally grabbed my old bottle instead of my new bottle, so I couldn't get any out. And I'm just going to glue that onto the photo like that. And then it does float out to the right-hand side there a little bit. So I'm just putting a little adhesive foam dot. I'm not even peeling off the back of it. I don't have to. It's just to hold the space so it doesn't get crushed in my scrapbook. Now this layout is looking quite a bit busier than I thought it did. When I'm looking at it here on the screen, it doesn't look very good actually. But when I look at it in real life, it looks okay. So I guess we'll see how it comes together once all of that stamped bubble wrap is covered up with both the layers of the photos, the layers behind the photos, and the title is going to cover some of them too. Yeah. It didn't look that, it's not appealing to me right this second, but maybe it'll come together. I mean, when I look over, I have it right in front of me here, and I do like it, so in real life. The other thing is that my camera lights need to be replaced, and so I just have household lights in them, and they do cast a bit more of a yellowy tone, and it's not quite as bright looking as what it is in real life. So hang on for the photos at the very end of this layout, and you will see, at the end of the video and you will see what it looks like in true to color, because those are taken with my DSLR, and they're right, they're proper. So I'm going to put the title over like this. I'm not going to mist or ink the cork letters. I often do, but I like the warmth of them. And I like the boldness of them, so I'm going to leave them. And I am just starting with the O because I wanted the O right beside the layers. I'm just working backwards. And then on this one, I'm going to start with this O because that's the tallest letter. It was the one, I have kind of a bouncing baseline here where my letters are kind of going up and down. And so I wanted to make sure that I could accommodate that O being noticeably different from the B beside it. Then just for a little bit of extra emphasis, I added those 3 little chevrons, and I'm going to put some more cork elements. At this point, I put the ampersand right there beside the banner and a little asterisk up on the hearts. And there are somehow some splattery white paint or something got on this layout. I'm not sure how because I didn't have any white paint or mist. But yeah, the photo has some splatters on it, but I might replace the photo or I might just leave it. It's actually a really, really low quality photo. So I'm doing my journaling now, just in my handwriting. There's a couple of spelling mistakes in it, just because I was doing it so fast. It says, our annual tradition of going for a walk to Scott's old elementary school on Thanksgiving is always punctuated by random silliness. It's a really long sentence. And I just kind of corrected my mistakes as I went, like in a fairly messy way. And then I messy underlined it. Basically, it wasn't bold enough, like the words were getting lost on the background grid paper. So I added some lines after the fact, which is not something I usually do. I usually put my lines down first and use them to help me journal. But I actually really, really like how that turned out. I might do that again sometime when my journaling needs more emphasis. So there we go. I added some cork elements down there too, I like to, when I have a little secondary cluster at the top or at the bottom, in this case I have one at the top and at the bottom, I like to bring elements from the rest of the layout up there and down there. So now this journaling here says dinner at Nana and Papa's plus walk to playground equals Thanksgiving tradition. So that's looking more true to color now. That looks like the layout that's right in front of me right now. So I'm just tidying up and putting some of my supplies away. I think I'm going to get one more layout out of this kit, maybe later on today. If I'm lucky, I might get a little bit more scrapbooking in. I got up at 5 in the morning. So that's just Coats Extra Strong. And then I was just showing you the Heart to Heart punch as well. The brand of the thread is called Coats, and it's upholstery thread. I have it in several different colors. And I got somehow a piece of stray adhesive wound up down there, so I just used my little adhesive remover thingy to take it off. It came off quite well. Pardon the eyeballs. Those are for I customize dolls as another hobby that I have. And those are some dud eyeballs that didn't turn out. I just left them on the card. Yeah, so sorry about that. But it's going to be a mask so that, oh, look at this. Oh, a little spider. I'm going to notice him in a second. He's on my hand right now. I'm like, what? So I just slowed this down so you could see the spider, just in case you thought that was entertaining. I just grabbed him by the web and pulled him out and dropped him over to the side of my room. I actually let spiders live in my scrap room. My room is in the basement, and if there's small little spiders like that, I just keep them. They don't hurt anything, and I guess in theory they eat something. I don't know. I hope there's not too many bugs down here for them to eat. The mist that I used was Warm Calico by Studio Calico. By Mr. Huey's. And I just wanted to mention that is an excellent color to have in your stash. You haven't seen me use it anytime lately, but I was looking for a black, but I didn't want a harsh black. The Warm Calico Mr. Huey's color mist is a warm black. So when you buy it, it actually looks brown in the bottle, but when you splatter with it, and if you mist it, it sometimes looks a little bit brown, but when you splatter it, it's black. But it's a warm black. So yeah, I know I've already said that. So I'll stop talking about it now. I looked it up. It was so old. I've had it for so long that I thought maybe they don't make it, but it's still at scrapbook.com if you're looking to buy it. So it's definitely worth having in your stash of colors. So I added a couple of enamel dots there at the end just to spread a bit of color around. It was more just for color and texture to add amongst my splats, and I had to darken up the plus sign a little bit just to make it obvious that that's what that journaling meant. And that's it. Oh yes, so when I was splattering, a splatter landed right on the wood veneer banner, right where the thread is. So you'll see as this pans down that there's all this messiness on the thread on the banner there, which is really not what I had in mind at all. I really wanted that to be like a neutral thread that you could barely see on the neutral wood veneer with the neutral stickers. Like I wanted it to be very neutral. And then this big blob of ink landed on it, which meant that it kind of stood out more than I was wanting it to. But I think it still looks okay. I didn't fuss with it too much. I didn't try to cover it or anything. Sometimes you just have to go with your mistakes and let them become part of the design and part of the layout. That's what I did here. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. I hope you have a really great scrappy week.